Okay, engine stop. Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. I'm at the foot of the ladder. The LEM footpads are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches. I'm going to step off the LEM now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It was on this day that Neil Armstrong changed the world. But how did US even get to the moon in the first place? Hi, I'm Vachan Dave, and today we'll be talking about the space race. Now, to know what the space race really was, we have to go back. Back to World War II. World War II was a difficult time, but with Harry Truman announcing,
General Eisenhower informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations.
This end of World War II would see 2 world powers rise up. The United States and the Soviet Union. But the start of the Cold War would see the competition between these 2 countries for technological and space advancements. In 1955, both countries said that they were going to launch satellites into space. But on October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the first man-made satellite into space, starting the space race. Although this was a huge accomplishment, it shocked Americans. The Americans felt as if they had to keep up with the USSR. So on December 6th, 1957, the US launched their very own satellite into space, the Vanguard TV-3. But it immediately failed. 2 seconds after it launched, it crashed and blowed up. This was when the space race really started escalating. The failed Vanguard didn't stop America, and on January 31st, 1958, the US launched Explorer 1, the first man-made satellite from the United States that successfully went to space. The US had barely caught up with the USSR at this point, but then the Soviets got ahead again when on April 12, 1961, the Soviet Union sent the spacecraft Vostok 1 into space, making Yuri Gagarin becoming the first man in space. A year later, in April of 1962, John Glenn became the first American to orbit Earth after many Soviet Union's astronauts had already completed the feat. Again, the United States had barely caught up with the USSR. President John F. Kennedy did not like how behind the U.S. was on the Soviet Union, so he went public. On May 25th, 1961, he gave a speech that would change the world, saying,
Goals. First, I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Although this quote wouldn't mean much at the time, this speech allowed NASA to get funding and start the Apollo program, which would eventually lead to many other programs starting. In 1965, American Ed White became the first American to walk in space, and although the Soviet Alexei Leonov had done it a few months before, the US was close to completing its goal. Years went by, and America kept progressing and progressing. After many more achievements, the US did it. On July 28th, 1969, Neil Armstrong, Edwin Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins became the first people to land on the moon. This huge accomplishment would end the space race. But did it end the tensions between the US and the Soviet Union? Years went by, and the Soviet Union and US tensions got better. But on July 15th, 1975, the 2 countries connected spacecrafts, and the handshake between the 2 countries' commanders officially ended the competition between the powers. That's the space race. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.